Hello and welcome to Hero with 1,000 Potions, a gaming podcast where two 30-something gamers examine the storytelling and gameplay of popular niche RPGs. This is Season 1 and we're talking about Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. My name is Tyler.
And I'm Nate.
We invite you to join us on this adventure by playing Xenoblade alongside these episodes where we will explore Xenoblade chapter by chapter. Last episode, we did the first half of Chapter 11. This time we're going to do the second half of Chapter 11 where we arrive at Galahad Fortress. Right, so I mentioned that there was a place in Sword Valley called Monado Wound, and I kind of wondered to myself, why is it called a wound? We wouldn't call a scratch on a blade a wound, and I think that's still true, but stumbled upon some further research on the Monado Wound, and the Monado Wound wasn't produced by the Monado as it was wielded by Bionis. It was the Monado as it was wielded by Dunban 1 year ago at the Battle of Sword Valley.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
That does make a little more sense. So maybe we saw it in the intro movie where he maybe produced like a large explosion, maybe the one where he got himself exceptionally injured, created a little crater in the ground for himself. And that is the Monado Wound. So same thing, still not sure why it's called a wound, although it's kind of a gouge in the ground, but yeah, that's the Monado Wound. So it seems.
Good to know.
Metal Face falls to his death. Mumkar slays himself by betraying Shulk's trust after staying Dunban's hand, fires a laser blast at them, which releases some structure from parts of Sword Valley come crashing down, impaling him right through the Face Mechon cockpit, and then the whole shebang crashes down into the primordial ocean below. We assume he is dead and gone. Not like this! And that's where we left you off last week. Next scene, we are treated to Larithia and Alvis talking shady with one another. They're playing the pronoun game. They're using a lot of words like they, he, this, and the boy, and things like that. They're talking shady, and we're not allowed to know what they're going on because they're using pronouns.
I wrote that my girlfriend Lori is looking at a big green staff. And I also put, Alvis, please get away from her. We don't like Alvis anymore on this podcast. So we're watching another scene of characters discussing their research of various details that our characters that we play as have already learned. So our characters learned that the Mechonis is absorbing green Bionis goo. We figured that out, and now we're watching other characters figure it out as well to reinforce that repetition of themes. We talk about that a little bit, that this game likes to do that in some cases. They also say, quote, it's too early to draw conclusions. And I'm saying, no, it really isn't, because some random children that were just running across the big ass sword have already drawn those correct conclusions. So go ahead, draw those conclusions, Larithia. You have my permission. It's another one of those characters feeling unsure about things that they should definitely feel sure about at this point in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I realize that the scene exists for a different reason. Maybe the details that we already know are not as interesting as what we're about to get, which is a name drop of
Dixon. Right?
Yeah, Dixon. We got a name drop of fucking Dixon.
Fucking Dixon.
Turns out that Lori, my gal Lori, is also an old Dickie fan too, and so I'm currently sending my breakup text as we speak.
I thought she wasn't a Dixon fan. I thought she says, why did you have to include him? You know, he disgusts me. And I thought she's referring to Dixon.
Oh, okay.
They talked about him, but I thought she had like disdain for him.
That's a good point.
Dude, the ship may still sail. Nate and Lori.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to reinvestigate that, because I was interpreting that as Zanza. Like the conversation that Alvis had was Zanza afterwards, and like this little mental mind game. But yeah, okay, including Dixon means he got invited to the capital. He got invited on the mission. That makes total sense. So, okay, I'm with you now. She's not a fan of Dixon.
But I got to give you credit here. It's difficult to say because they're using pronouns. They're saying, so why did you have to include him? You know, he disgusts me.
Yeah, because she seemed to, at the beginning of the scene, have a vested interest in the Emperor being saved by the Vision. And she said, oh, well, the Vision is useless because the Emperor wasn't saved. And so I was kind of getting that her disdain would be for Zanza and kind of all the BS that went down on top of Prison Island. So I'm going to rewatch that scene after. Maybe we'll do an addendum on the next episode. I'm actually, as I replay it in my head, I'm leaning on your direction that she's talking about Dixon being the distasteful one to her.
I want to pick up on another point in this scene here where Lorithia says where Alvis asks, is there a countermeasure to this green ether poison that disintegrates bionic matter? And Lorithia says something like, creating antibodies is a simple matter. We will be ready. And I have to ask myself, Nate, Bionis antibodies? This kind of sounds like Wells from Xenogears. In Xenogears, if you recall, and big spoilers if you're not already familiar with Xenogears, but Wells are demi-humans or mutated humans, and they end up being raw material for a larger godlike being on the that's critical to the plot here. And I wondered if maybe antibodies is sort of analogous to some greater thing than the tiny little things we have in our blood that attack foreign matter.
Yeah, I can see that being the case. This brings up a quick little thing for me too. In the past, I've talked about how it seems like Xeno games kind of revisit the same themes and ideas and recycling things. I don't mean that as a negative whatsoever when I point to these old, is this like Xenogears? Is this like Xenosaga? I actually, when it comes to my own personal content, if I'm playing a new RPG game or something, I kind of take my own original characters and like reinterpret them through whatever new game or RPG I'm playing or a new D&D session with somebody. I myself repackage my own content over and over to get maximum satisfaction out of it. So I actually commend them that if we can get more Xenogears content, even though rights-wise it probably belongs to Square Enix, I'm all for it. So I love it. So if in the past it sounds like I'm kind of knocking our references to Xenogears as repetitious or uncreative, that is definitely not the case in my mind.
Definitely not the case, and we have this series to thank for the impetus for producing this podcast at all. It's through inspirational storytelling like Xenogears and maybe to another extent Xenoblade that we're even here talking about this. So it inspires us. It inspires us big time.
Yeah.
Another question I have about this scene is, how does Dixon know Alvis and how does Dixon know Lorithia? What sort of history do these three people have? Dixon is more than just a guy with a rifle that fought in a battle 1 year ago and a guy that discovered Baby Shulk, or enormous Baby Shulk, 14 or was it 7 years ago? I don't remember.
Yeah.
How do these people know each other? How does a Homs, a mysterious ether-sensitive Homs, and a S&M wing-haired lady get to know each other?
There is a quote I have here. It's, quote, "We must respect our elders. Dixon has known him far longer than us." So again, that's where adding to my confusion that maybe Zanza was part of the conversational mix was, like you said, the pronoun. Before I said that Dixon was Zanza, that might still be the case by some stretch, but he's an elder to Alvis and Lorithia. So, and we know High and Tia are long-lived, so Dixon is definitely really long-lived if he's their elder. So again, we've got these two like elder beings creating mechon slaying swords. I'm going with a strong connection between Dixon and Zanza.
Sure.
Like I said before, maybe not as strong a connection of he's the exact same guy as I postulated earlier, but still a very strong connection.
Reconnecting with the group, Shulk has a vision where Fiora Face is knocked off a hanging platform and falling backwards into the primordial ocean, like as if she's unconscious. He touches his head and like shakes it, like as if it's disturbing him. And of course, Shulk lies about it first. Dunban sniffs him out, and Shulk only then admits it, but he only says that the vision is telling him that Fiora is certainly inside, which is suspicious because nobody suspects that the half-truth he told was worth lying about. This party is full of dum-dums.
Did you see something? No. You did see something.
All right. It was the silver mechon. Fiora. She's definitely inside the fortress.
And it seems that Shulk never learned his lesson about the lying visions.
Whose convenience are you preserving by hiding this truth? Like, this is like a suicide mission. It's, we're going to Mechonis. It's probably good intel, especially if you are kind of getting visions of scenarios of the future to share with your party. And he lies about it. And then when he tells the truth, he says, oh, no, it's just that, Yeah, I had a vision, and it's just that Fiora was inside, which I could have admitted, which, if we're true, is not reason to hide it, but yeah, dum-dums.
And I'm going to drop the internet meme word of ludonarrative dissonance. I know, I don't like the word either, but it's a term that means when gameplay and story don't really line up to give you the same perspective. And so when we're playing as Shulk and we receive a vision of some random enemy critting and destroying a friend of ours, we are prompted to immediately warn them about their death. When it's a story cutscene and the same thing happens for Shulk, where he receives a vision of imminent death of somebody, he always holds it back. So there's a bit of a disconnect between how we as players are told to treat visions and how our player avatar treats them when we are not in control. We are back in the saddle. We are controlling characters. We are running around a giant ass sword. I push my thumbstick. My character moves forward. I'm very happy in this moment. This place is really big. The far end of the zone takes a while to get to. There's a lot of like winding circular structures that various layers and levels to them, that you go up a walkway, you go down a walkway, you go around a curved structure. 100%ing the map in this case takes quite a bit. But when you get to the far end of the zone, it delivers your third impromptu quest of secure the radio tower. If you remember from our last episode, we did 2 of these where you're just running along and a quest pops up on your screen like nothing. You want to do it. And securing the radio tower, I wonder, Cypher, is that you? Are you the one that wants to go secure the radio tower? But I don't want my seed rank to go down. And also there's a level 55 elite as an objective in this one, and I'm scared that he's going to kick my ass. So I don't do it.
Mm-hmm. I did that one.
You did that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I'm saving it for later, but I will say that eventually I did figure out a way to do it. Are you familiar with Vanilla WoW's Upper Blackrock Spire?
Yes, although I ran very little of that.
So the prevailing strategy when I played at the very beginning of the game, when it was still a 15-man dungeon, I believe, was that a hunter would pull the boss and kite him around damn near the entire dungeon while you killed all the other shit, like standing next to the boss. And then he'd come back and hopefully your party was in enough of a together state that you could finish him off before everybody was just murdered.
Which boss was that?
Oh, God.
Final one?
Yeah, the final one.
Okay.
Let's see.
Yeah, he's like a dragon kind.
General Dracasath.
General Dracasath.
The hunter would kite him across the entire dungeon, and we would kill his ads, finally like setting the stage to kill him ourselves. So what does this have to do with the third quest? Well, I found a way to take a party of all ranged characters and just run Charla in a circle to where the elite protecting this area could never actually hit me. And then I would order my side characters to focus the additional enemies around him, right? Mm-hmm. And then once all the enemies were killed, I could just run back and he'd reset, but there'd be no enemies there. But he was still a level 55 elite and killing the shit out of me. So I still did the Charla running around in circle strategy, and he could pretty much never hit me. So I officially cheesed a fight in the game it's what we call clever use of mechanics, but really it's cheating.
Nicely done, Nate.
I think we talked about this last episode, but it makes me wonder how casual players digested this zone, because a lot of this stuff is pretty hard, or at least very challenging. I don't know if I'd use the word hard, but just like you have to have appropriate levels and gear and preparation to tackle some of these encounters.
Yeah, certainly harder than Valak Mountain and Aerith Sea. We enter Galahad Fortress from the rear entrance, which I think is LOL.
Yeah, there's like a big opening that we even get a cutscene where it's just like, oh, hey, that's how we get in, guys.
And that's when we get into Galahad Fortress. That's its own zone. It's not a subsection of Sword Valley. It is its own zone. And when we arrive, we get the Mechonis map. Usually when we arrive at a new zone here, we get the Bionis map, and it kind of puts a sparkle on where on the Titan we are. But this time we're on the Mechonis map, who has his own silhouette. Mechonis in the Mechonis map looks vaguely samurai-like, with the silhouette of the Titan kind of holding a bent knee position, swinging its sword perfectly level level to the horizon, and Galahad Fortress is on the hand or the wrist of the sword arm.
Yeah, and I'd be interested to look later at some of the designs of both Bionis, Mechonis, some of the faced Mechon designs and everything, because I noticed an interesting fact about Mumkar's faced Mechon. I don't even know what frame. Mumkar's frame. Let's call it that, Metal Face, is that Mumkar was obsessed with the Monado, and his Metal Face's design has all of these Monado-like shapes, like in the shape of the legs and the shoulders and things. There's, you know how the Monado has obviously the straight edge of the blade and then this curved area in which the symbol appears. That same shape is very prevalent in his design. So after we're kind of done with this game, I might do like a deep dive on the art direction and forms of all the different mechs in the game to see what they're trying to convey and what they're referencing and everything, because it's really interesting to me. And like you said, I kind of lean to Mechonis looking a bit cooler to me than Bionis when I look at the overall big picture.
I think I agree with you. Yeah. Now might be a good time to talk about Metal Face's authentic Japanese translation name, because for American listeners, it's kind of astonishing. The true original name of Metal Face is Blackface. And blackface, or the phrase and the principle of blackface is very touchy and sensitive in American culture. And what blackface is white folks putting like shoe polish or black paint over their face as a means to impersonate a black person, like someone from an African-American descent. And that qualifies as very racist in the United States of America. And so when they translated blackface to the Mechon blackface to the American audience, or the Western release, maybe I'll put it that way, they changed it to Metal Face. And so when you and I scoffed at the name, or at least I did, Chapter 2 during the attack on Colony 9, reason that I found recently about why his name is Metal Face, it's because it was originally something that you just couldn't put in a game, at least in the United States.
Definitely, and there's a little bit more we could say about that. In English, we're using the term face, small f, and face, capital F, interchangeably in sentences. So when a Homs is referring to a Mechon having a face, they are using the word Kao, or not C-O-W, K-A-O in Japanese. That is a term for a literal face. But Metal Face's name in Japanese, the black face, is Kuroi Feisu, which is they're trying to say the word face in their Japanese characters. So Feisu is face. So for them, the capital F face is an abstraction. It is a term, they might know what it means, or they might have some connection, but it doesn't carry the same like literal definition for them, because they're using an English word to express something. To elaborate on this, we have our scene from very early in the game where our Captain Waluigi from Colony 9, he encounters Metal Face for the first time, and he says,
What the hell are you? A Mechon with a face? なんだこいつ? 騎士兵のくせに顔がついてやがる.
Aoga suite aru. There's a few different ways to translate that, but I read that to my wife who speaks Japanese, and she essentially says that it means something akin to he has a face in a way that's shocking, right? And so they translated this correctly when they translated it to a Mechon with a face, because, it's expressing that surprise to it. But he's not saying feisu, he's saying kaoga. So he's saying a actual face. He's seeing eyes, a nose, a mouth, right? Now, when characters in the game use the term feisu, that's when we're getting our capital F faces in English. I think that if I were the translator, people go back and forth on this. They want literal, straight translations to keep, as close as they can to the spirit of it. But they already had to make a compromise in not naming him Blackface. I think it would have been better to have an abstraction of the term feisu, a term they don't necessarily understand in their native language. We should have gotten a term that we don't understand.
I think I know what you mean. Like, let's say, like in Pacific Rim, you had Jaegers. Now, Jaeger, I think that means shark.
I think it's German for hunter.
Hunter? Okay, sure. But yeah, it could be Black Hunter, right? That would be acceptable.
Yeah, I think I said Black Mask instead.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
They don't really have faces either. We're not seeing Mumkar's head displayed in giant head mode, a cheat code up on the top of the Mechon. We're just seeing like...
And they're not expressive. They're not expressive faces.
Yeah, so I think you could have kept the black and changed the abstracted term. Mask is not abstract, but with that capital M, you would run into that a lot less than you would the interchangeability of people talking about faces and faceu and all that. I don't know. We've talked about this a bit, but we have essentially solved the mystery of these awkward sentences where we talked about in the last episode, Egil saying, the faces are no longer of use to me.
It appears the usefulness of the faces has come to an end.
That sentence is just for the initiated only. You couldn't casually walk in on that sentence.
Inside Galahad Fortress, it's very Star Wars-y. Sterile, clean, futuristic Death Star-style hallways and Metroid-style colored doors, which open up into circular galleries with holographic computer displays and racks of dormant mechons.
So glad you mentioned Star Wars, Tyler, because I just encountered a revelation that I had that came with this game, but also something I've felt for years and years. So when you watch Star Wars and you see a Star Destroyer come up, or the Death Star itself, you notice they did a really good job of showing, like, when you zoom in on a Star Destroyer along like the edge, there's all of these like little rooms and protrusions jutting out to where, like, yeah, each of these are like a special utility area, or, you know, something is done, and this place is just so massive that they have a incredible amount of staff all working on various purposes, right?
Yeah.
And I would say to myself, when looking like at the exterior and interior of the Death Star, I had this thought in my head. It's like, you would never need that many utility panels and pipes and electrical displays and lights, you know, doing all of these different things. You'd never need that much shit. We're talking about a highly digitized, uniform system here. You'd never need all that garbage on there. And I felt the same way when I was looking at kind of the interior of Sword Valley. It's like, this is just a big sword that pumps juice away from something. Why do we need all these bases and fortresses and all these different things on there? So I had a revelation. I had a little tour I went on. I rode on the CVN-78 USS Gerald R. Ford, the first in the Ford class carrier and the biggest and baddest ship in the U.S. Navy, according to them. We rode down to Florida and back up. I watched some jets take off and land on the thing. It was a sight to behold. I got to see all the inner workings of the ship, got to take some classes on how nuclear power works and how all of those reactors are maintained and operated by the Navy members on board. And what I will say is that every single inch of that entire fucking thing is covered in pipes and panels and electrical equipment shoved into every corner, to where there is a constant hum of electricity and water and all of this stuff. It is like, I don't know how my wife does it, how she survives, because it would drive me insane. It gave me this epiphany moment of like, Star Wars actually got it right, and the inside of the Mechon sword got it right. Like, to run a facility of this size and this complexity, there really is all of these panels and equipment and electrical details on every inch of it. There are pipes everywhere. There is not a single space that is not utilized on this thing. So I stand corrected in that regard. Your description of that kind of Star Wars-like moment tied into exactly something I just realized.
Everywhere you turn, there's a console. You don't know what it's for, but there's all kinds of buttons and levers and who knows what. They're everywhere.
Yeah, and apparently somebody does know how to operate these things. That blows my mind. I'll quick mention that watching the jets take off from the carrier deck, they are using a electromagnetic launcher to propel the jet off the system. In 1979, the show Mobile Suit Gundam had the white base that would use magnetic launchers to fire the Gundams off of the ship. The same goes for firing missiles in the Metal Gear Solid series. They use a electromagnetic rail to fire missiles at a distance that rockets previously couldn't, because they were able to attain a low orbit. So we're finally seeing some of the sci-fi tech being used in real life of 40 years ago. President Donald Trump was famous for, in 2017, wanting the Ford to use, quote, goddamn steam catapults instead of the, quote, no good electromagnetic electromagnetic catapults. Thankfully, the US Navy denied that request because I don't want to live in a steampunk future. I want to live in a Gundam future.
Nate, I started watching Gundam 1 the other day.
How was it? It's tough, isn't it?
It's fun. It's good. It drops you into the action right away, which was pretty cool, which is also very Star Warsy, like for the original New Hope.
Sure.
I'm only 40 minutes into Gundam 1, but it's good. It's good. I think it's fun. I like it. I had to stop because I had other things going on, but I'll finish it.
Sure. I'm so proud of you. I appreciate that you have the ability to judge content a little bit more with a fair eye for the time period it came out and everything, because it's really hard to get people to just be like, sit down and watch Gundam 1 and not be like, what the hell am I watching? So it's an acquired taste, but it is something that when you get the whole picture of what the story it's trying to tell and where it's trying to go, I think it's pretty magical.
Entering Galahad Fortress, we have new normal battle music. It really, really rocks. Titan we're on. It sounds like a souped up jam from Mega Man X. It is heavy. I think it's great. I think it's a freaking great jam.
It's kind of got like a mix of breakbeat and a heavy guitar in there. Very 2000s or late 90s, at least in my opinion.
Sure.
It brought me back to the soundtrack for the first Mortal Kombat movie, maybe a little bit of the second terrible movie's soundtrack as well.
Interesting.
For how successful or unsuccessful those movies were, their soundtracks were amazing. There's a particular song in there by, I think it's Gravity Kills, that this track just reminds me of that, like post 9 Inch Nails energy a little bit. I'm not saying the track from the game makes me think of 9 Inch Nails, but just more so how everybody was kind of incorporating industrial a little bit. Even if they're a little bit more of a fast-paced rock band, they were incorporating some of those sounds that they picked up from that explosion of industrial onto the scene. And I'm hearing a little bit of that here. Sounds like what the Mechon listen while they're chugging the Mechon Dew Bionis Blast. I made that joke last episode, but our great contributor on our Discord, Ronan, he added the Mechon Dew instead of Mountain Dew Bionis Blast. He says Mechon Dew Bionis Blast, and I chuckled out loud and I said, all right, yeah, he beat me to it. That's a better joke than what I came up with. So
hilarious.
Yeah. And also there was at one point in the music where hilariously Riki adds his ba 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 on beat with the music. I guess I'm playing with Riki now for this duration of this for some laughable moments. Good laughs though.
I don't think I had an awareness of that.
No, I don't think he does it on purpose. I think it just lined up. He has like an audio clip where it's like ba ba ba.
Oh yeah.
It almost sounds like something my kid says now. He like, whenever I drop him off at daycare, he'll go and he'll get so excited to shut the door, and while he's shutting it, he'll go ba ba for bye bye, but in his own little version of it. Riki kind of reminded me of my kid when he did that.
There's an elevator. We don't have a key. We look for the elevator key by activating basically every dormant Mechon we can find and then arrive at the control room. The control room controls the blast furnace. So Galahad Fortress isn't exactly a fortress, it's a refinery. We conspire to sabotage this blast furnace's energy turbines by shutting off these 2 giant pistons which are floating above a room of green ether ooze, which is accessible by walking atop giant industrial-sized pipes, just like you do in Midgar's Mako reactors. Play the Midgar Mako reactor music.
Yeah, so we're shutting down the pistons, and as I previously just talked about, my wife is a nuclear engineer. Whenever she tells me about her job and how all of this machinery works, my eyes gloss over and roll back into my head despite my best efforts to understand and pay attention and empathize with everything she does. It's curious to me that this band of country bumpkins is all in sync on the workings of foreign tech that they've never interacted with before and how this whole thing works. But I will give Shulk credit for being an engineer in this instance. He does work on machinery, so he's getting a pass on this one for me, but it's a mild benefit of the doubt. It's not a full, like, I still have to question it a little bit. And the other thing is this whole operation seems to not be built with fail-safes in mind, because as I learned about the operation of the Ford class carrier, I found out that they go down to the point where they also have giant train diesel engines on board, just in case like the 9 other layers of power fail on the thing. They can fire up a diesel train engine to get the boat moving. So the Mechonis sword is not well designed in that when you shut down 2 pistons, that essentially cripples their offensive efforts for the rest of seemingly this entire chapter.
Yeah, no redundant systems. Shame on you, Eggle. Shame on you.
Your questions do not concern me.
We turn off the pistons and the ether production stops. A door unlocks and grants us access to the blast furnace. Shulk hazards that Fiora will be at the blast furnace, but gives no explanation why he thinks she will be at the blast furnace.
I have that exact same note of why is Fiora at a blast furnace? Was it his vision? Did he see the furnace in the vision? Is this where we end up at the end of the chapter? I don't 100% think so, but I could be wrong.
It just sounds like a place where you keep a WoW raid boss. Speaking of WoW raid bosses, we get to the ether input stream and glorious Jerome is awaiting us. He's just idling in a corner, kind of like a WoW raid boss might. And when I kill him, he drops for me a quality plunger. At long last, Nate, I have in my inventory a quality plunger. No second-rate plungers, no dime-stored plungers, a quality plunger. Thank you, glorious Jerome. May glory be to you and my toilet maintenance back on Colony 9 forevermore.
Have we seen a toilet yet? I don't know.
No. Well, a plunger could be like, what else could a plunger be? Like syringe?
Yeah.
I suppose.
Okay, that makes sense.
A plunger could be just the rubber part that might go like function kind of like a gasket and some sort of hydraulic system.
And if we consider the fact that everybody in this game has accents, it could definitely mean something very different than what we use the word plunger for. I also found a room with, you talked about Glorious Jerome. We also have Glacier Akon. No, not that Akon, Tyler. I'm finding that tackling elites with the team of Sharla, Riki, and Melia it's a bit much, so I'm going to have to change up that team.
We descend an elevator to the Faced Maintenance Bay where a bunch of Zord faces are hanging out in place, each holding a glowing green spear. Now, this sounds like a place you might find Fiora Face. The Faced Maintenance Bay.
Yeah, and it's kind of highlighting the fact that, like, you know, we've got one of these spears back that we're researching back in Alchemoth. We've got one of them, and there are apparently hundreds of them ready to stab all sorts of biological beings. So it's subtle, but it's kind of raising the stakes on that experience we had. It's highlighting that these are not like, that spear that we have is not like some legendary weapon that they had to sacrifice in order to achieve their ends. They've got tons of these things.
An alarm sounds and mechons flood the room, led by Fiora Face. She draws 2 swords and engages us without saying a word. My heart tells me to clear out all mechons not childhood friends first.
Yes, I think from a story perspective and a good ad management perspective in our MMO brains, this is the conclusion we both arrived at, was to not attack her right away. These
are the mechons, like all the other mechons in this zone and in Sword Valley, have very utilitarian names like the M94 Guard Unit. But I want to point out the M94 Guard Unit particularly because it is a giant 4-legged spider bot with a single glowing eye, kind of like Gomas from The Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, they seem to be designed to not necessarily do battle with HOMs or other biological units, but just kind of scale large areas in a short amount of time, maybe even high terrain with their giant legs. So
Dunban and Shulk chastise Fiora Face for not recognizing them, and then we retreat when we find that it's no use. Fiora jets ahead of us and then demolishes the bridge we're running on with a laser blast. We all fall deeper into Galahad Fortress. The whole place kind of crumbles and we're descending down into the bowels of Galahad Fortress. It's a huge room that we land on. Everyone is okay, of course. Looking up, we see the walkway above, and I get big Empire Strikes Back vibes from like when Luke and Vader are fighting one another in the bowels of Cloud City. It feels like that. We're kind of in the maintenance shafts, the unimportant areas of this place where all plot points are coming together. And that's where we are now. And who shows up but Goldface? Or is it Golden Face? Goldface? Eggo face.
Ego face.
Eggo. Lego my ego.
Yeah, he's here, and I don't know, my notes are getting a little sparse. Maybe I was losing steam at this point. He says, Apocrypha activate, and the Monado's power is completely negated in this area. So it's almost like we were kind of drawn to this position. He was using Fiora and the subsequent destruction and relocation to pull us into this place.
Goldenface floats into the air, pulls his arms and his knees inwards, and then extends them out again. We zoom out to see a blue cloud of energy rise out of Mechonis itself, and then it paints the room we're in and our heroes in a blue light. The Monado shuts off, and Fiora Face, well, she arrives now. She's there too now. And Dunban shows us that our weapons are useless. Again, Dunban shames Fiora Face for not recognizing Shulk came here to save us.
Stop! Don't you recognize Shulk?
Fiora, please! Don't you remember us at all?
It's no use!
I feel like in this moment that the team is oblivious to the nuances of this kind of mind control and think that basic stuff like shaming and yelling at Fiora will snap her out of this instead of, I don't know, destroying the correct MacGuffin like you would in any other fantasy adventure.
I have the same note here. I'd say I'm getting a little burnt out on the repetition of this, where we have people yelling at Nemesis Face / Meyneth, because that we can learn at this point. Even not as players, I would feel like the characters would be able to learn that this is not Fiora, and that just yelling at her is not going to do the trick. She's fighting to regain control. We can tell that a little bit as players, but like the scenes drag on for a little bit on these points, and I just feel like there's building to like a beat change, and then there's beating me over the head with it. Two different things. You can build, and then you can drag it out for way too long. I'd like for them to find a different way to communicate this struggle, at least, than a pack of people yelling at a Gundam. It's not as compelling as maybe the writers thought it was.
But it turns out it works, because eventually Fiora Face trembles and she shakes her head and she says, "You must run." The cockpit opens, and then we see Fiora herself again. Her Ham's form again in the cockpit, and she says with her Ham's mouth, "The machine is not under my control." And then the cockpit closes. This offends Goldenface. He says he didn't expect such resistance to becoming a face. All Mechon are mine to control, and should a passenger defy me, I force it to obey. Shulk then asks Egil, "Why attack Bionis?" And Goldenface says, "Well, submit yourself to me and find out. It will be clear to you why I attack Bionis when you have a Mechonis body." So if you say the Monado is powerless and you want the Monado, well, how does that make sense? If you really want this thing, come and get it. And the fight breaks out. We fight Goldenface. This guy, he kind of drums himself up to be like a final boss, but we're going to fight him now. And here we go. He's huge. He's way, way bigger than Metal Face, way bigger than Fiora Face, Zord Face. He's a large golden-faced Mechon.
Tyler, we're getting another spat of exposition on how the Monado works. Bro, I want characters to stop teeing up expedition jumps and just say, "Dude, we get it." Like, Egil starts talking and Shulk's like, "No, I got it. Monado, Ether, Fate, whatever, I don't care." Dunban, just interrupt Egil and say, "I can enjoy bread without knowing how to bake it. Fuck off."
You can eat bread without knowing how to bake it.
Let's enjoy that bread, not learn how to bake the bread.
So we don't just fight Goldface, we also are fighting Fiora Face, which isn't her name. It's Nemesis Face, but Fiora Face is funny. And so we can damage Fiora, but not Egil. Goldface has a skill called Kingbreaker, and it hurts really, really hard. Egil resists all damage, and so we can only deal damage to Nemesis Face. And when we get her to about 50% health, the battle ends.
Goldar is going in for the kill.
Since you refuse to listen to reason, I guess I have no choice but to destroy you.
Goldar.
Yeah, there's a lot of connection between us and Power Rangers in this podcast. Fiora is beseeching Meyneth from within. So there's a little bit of a dichotomy there of Fiora still exists inside that head, and she's sharing it with somebody else.
"Whoever you are, please lend me your strength," she says.
And she wants her to save Shulk. I guess that is confirmation of what we were talking about with the soul transfer. This is something that is possibly unique to only this character and not just like a Mechon Ham thing that all of the faces, frames, people inside are using, because we can reasonably deduce that Mumkar didn't have a soul transfer of any kind because he wasn't having these like crises of identity. It was just straight up Mumkar, as we stated before. So Lady Meyneth is a separate entity from Fiora, and that we can now deduce that that soul was placed in her body for whatever purpose.
Yeah, we don't know that purpose yet.
We have a Feisu fight.
Yes, she spear tackles Egil, who combos her shit with melee blows and just pummels her, just crumples her up.
Nemesis eventually releases red energy from Fiora's chest crest thing that we saw in previous chapters. The Monado power is back with this red energy. So she says, please survive. And Shulk gets a vision of the whole damn place collapsing. And then it does.
Yes. How does it, why does it start to break down? Oh, no, it's the red energy that she radiates is causing Galahad Fortress to begin exploding. The platform we're on starts listing to one side, and destroyed Mechon husks are slipping off and falling down to the ocean below. Shulk is walking precariously towards Fiora's frame, which then slips off and falls down, and Shulk goes leaping after her.
I think he needs to pump those ether waves and just change reality. That's what he should be doing right now. Because the Monado's back, baby.
Right, yeah. Egil cannot believe what he's seeing here. He says, it is impossible that a faced Mechon can do what she did to re-energize the Monado. We're left with a cliffhanger. That's how that, we still have one more scene here, but that's how like the action ends. Shulk leaping to his death, let's say, chasing after the Nemesis Face frame with his childhood friend Fiora inside, and everybody else, Dunban, Ricky, Melia, Sharla, Ryan, watching in astonishment, also clinging to their own lives, and presumably we're all just going to crash into the ocean below as well.
Yeah, a lot of people falling into the ocean in this chapter. It makes me wonder, Tyler, are we going to get a nice little cameo from a broken apart, nearly dead Mumkar hanging out in the ocean? Maybe he's floating on a piece of driftwood like Rose from Titanic.
Maybe. Could be. I don't really know.
We can't be done with Mumkar just yet. I'm kidding. We totally could be. I would love for us to be done with Mumkar, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Place your bets now.
He needs to be crucified for his sins.
Not enough crucifixions yet in this game.
Yeah, that's right. Not enough crucifixions, not enough biblical iconography, not enough jaw-dropping moments that you wouldn't want your mom to see when she comes into the room. The final scene is back in Alchemoth, where Callian is speaking with an anonymous guard who is reporting on the explosions from Galahad Fortress. Dixon's present, it looks like, and he says, you don't need to worry about them. I got a pretty good idea where they are. But now is a good time to launch that attack that we've been arranging this whole time. Turns out Alvis is here as well, and he asks, should I perform the divination ritual now? And Callian says, no, we don't need to see the future here. Alvis has no reaction to this, and Callian's idea here is that it doesn't matter what the future says. Maybe we don't need it here. That kind of feels like a breath of fresh air to decline visions. Let's use our intel, let's use our boots on the ground observational awareness to inform our battle plans rather than the divinations of a sketchy 17-year-old.
Exactly. I like that you said sketchy, because I previously have postulated, are these visions genuine warnings of don't let this happen, don't let that happen, or are they manipulations pushing us in the direction that someone wants us to go? As we know, the visions kind of all led to Prison Island, all led to that moment of Zanza being freed. So are they just, hey, that's just how the visions lined up, man. It is what it is. Or is somebody giving those visions to push people in a certain direction? So I think Callian is doing some boss king shit here by saying, no, I see you two manipulators fist bumping in the corner over there. I don't want anything to do with this. He just says we're gonna take fate and destiny into our own hands and say fuck it. Dixon he seems revved and raring to go. I often forget from his old man hippie look that the actual first time we met him, he was ripping Mechon ass. So I guess it makes sense that he's getting back into that mode of Mechon slaying again. He has a quote here that it says, I like that look in your eye there, lad. It's time. This is war.
The headband will rise again. Where are we going next, Nate?
We fell into the ocean, so hopefully there's some stuff down there, like some islands or ships or like broken, crashed things. I have no idea. Shulk fell into the ocean. Did the rest of the party didn't, though, right?
If they're not there, they're clinging to some piece of scrap metal that's hanging them over the ocean.
Sure.
And there's nobody nearby that'll pick them up unless some Earthsea freighter, or not freighter, but like, fighter shows up.
If it's Shulk and a Fiora or Fiora-like person hanging out below, debris of some kind, maybe the Mechon itself that Fiora fell down onto, or maybe there's other shit down there. Are we gonna get our Faye and Ellie fishing scene where Faye's running around being a dumbass and Ellie's wondering, are we gonna survive this?
Could be.
That's a pretty iconic scene, and I wonder if it's gonna be replayed here with the oceanic survival side quest. There's a lot of those in Japanese RPGs, don't you think? I'm thinking of Illusion of Gaia. Did you play that one?
I was thinking that too.
Yes. The raft.
You strike the fish with your flute and then they pop onto your raft.
Yes.
As well.
That boat sequence where you meet the king and all that, that was very powerful to my young self. I haven't replayed the game in decades, so I don't know if it holds up in the same way, but I remember just being moved to where you wake up and everyone's fucking dead.
Maybe we'll do that one sometime together here.
That'd be a fun, quick one.
Yeah, make it real quick. 4 or 6 episodes.
Yeah, basically, that's it. The flute notes, is that what you're collecting?
Flute you collect... No, they're statues.
Oh, right.
Inexplicable statues that I forget how you apply them. But you're looking for your father. Never returned from his expedition to the Tower of Babel, I think.
We were on a rabbit trail here, but that was a pretty magical game. That was one of my occasions I remember actually sitting down and playing a game for like over 6 hours straight. On my first encounter with it, I was just completely enraptured by it.
This has been an episode of Hero with 1,000 Potions. Join us on Discord. We're having all kinds of conversations. Shout outs to some of our new members here. Koshek7958, Super Slav 74, and XX Princess Unicorn XX, who also moonlights as the Game Over Kid in my Earthbound Beginnings episode. Join us next time where we will find out what the heck happened to all of these characters and whether that they all drowned or if Fiora Face floats and things like that here. That'll do it here. We bid you all good day.
We bid you all farewell.
All right now. Bye-bye. Wow!